Hello and welcome to day 3 of OER Launch Week here at UTA. I am Megan Sarah, UTA's OER librarian, and today we look past budgets to people. The OER community is very big and wide. Some of the big names in OER, with the work that we do, are UNESCO, Creative Commons, OpenStax, BC Campus, and Open Education Global and Spark. And I wanted to share a little bit about what they do because UTA is one small node in the big OER community. So UNESCO started us off and set shared principles through the OER recommendations so countries and campuses have kind of a North Star. Creative Commons makes the permissions legible so sharing is legal, simple, and fast. OpenStax is one of the biggest publishers of high quality open textbooks at scale, and they are located here in Texas, in Houston, at Rice University. BC Campus supports faculty development and open publishing across British Columbia and really everywhere. We use a lot of BC Campus materials. Open Education Global connects practitioners and recognizes excellence worldwide, and Spark advocates for open policy and practices so that this work can continue to grow. That larger network is why progress travels faster than any one campus can manage to do alone. OER helps us humanize teaching and learning, which is where we're headed next. OER is a global community, and like I said, we are just one tiny little piece in there. Oh, my book picture's not going to show. So since today is about community and stories, I'd like to start by sharing my own OER discovery story. When I was an adjunct professor in the Literacy and Learning Department at Texas Women's University, one semester I struggled really hard because my syllabus called for or was already baked in quite a few textbooks. And my students' lives did not really allow for them to get that many textbooks. Several couldn't get the required books in time. In week 1 and 2, I was scanning what I could, trying to stay under fair use, probably didn't do perfect to try to keep everybody moving. By week 3, I realized that really not all my students could get the books. So I went hunting to kind of change up the resources. And I found the book that's not showing on the screen here, Steps to Success, Crossing the Bridge Between Literacy, Research, and Practice. And I didn't need the whole book. I used the chapters we needed, set the rest aside, and it worked. I got everybody on the same page and we had a great semester, but it was a bumpy start. And at the time, I really didn't know that I had found an OER. I didn't even know that term. Years later, when I was here at UTA, I saw the same book in the open textbook library, and I had that small aha moment. I had been using OER before I had the words for it, and that really helped me and my students. So for me, that reframed OER completely. It's not just cutting costs, but it was removing barriers and helping me teach better for my students. So open does 3 big things. First, it gives us day 1 access, so everyone starts together. Second, it gives us legal permission to adapt, which means you can fix what doesn't work or change the content to meet your needs or your students' needs. Third, representation. This helps students actually see themselves in the material, and belonging is a design choice, that sense of belonging. Open makes it easier for us to build in those things that help students feel like they belong in our classes. So licensing may sound like something stuffy, but I really see it as a way to humanize our work and share more openly. So copyright is the default. When we create something, we automatically have copyright, all rights reserved. That protects creators, but also blocks reuse unless they give permission. Creative Commons is the opt-in alternative, some rights reserved. Creators choose a license that says upfront what you can do with it. So just a quick tell you what these license icons mean. The buy icon means give me credit, give the person who created it credit. SA or share alike means if you remix, share under the same license so that the next person has the same freedoms. NC is non-commercial, which means don't sell this, you can't sell it for a profit. And then no derivatives means you cannot make a change to this, so you can adapt. A little side note there, if it has the no derivatives icon, it means it's not technically an OER because for it to be OER, it must be adaptable. That's the point. So a resource with MD on it is really just a free resource, not technically an OER. So some ways we can connect OER to our students in a human way is by customizing and contextualizing an already existing OER. You have two levers to humanize a resource here. Contextualizing is when you change the structure. It works, the structure works, but the examples don't feel like your students. So you customize when the structure itself needs to be changed. To contextualize, we're swapping out names, dates, imagery, so that chapters sound more like your students, more like where they live, like Arlington, Texas, and your discipline. Customize by changing the order, combining or trimming chapters, aligning outcomes and assessments, adding H5P interactions or labs, and improving accessibility elements, and then noting what you changed. Both are allowed when the CC license permits adaptations, so it does not have the no derivatives, and both strengthen relevance and that sense of belonging for students. So here's a clean example. The Canadian edition of Business Communication didn't just swap examples, it reshaped the book to fit the program. So they changed 19 chapters, went down to 12. Writing chapters are being moved to a separate workbook. A new digital media chapter was added with H5P interactions and new graphics went in, and new learning outcomes were revised. So this is a structural customization tuned to how faculty teach and assess. And the point is simple. You can redesign the container so that the content serves your course better. Contextualization is like changing the seasoning, not the recipe. Keep the core of the book, swap in case studies for local case studies, update statistics to your local or like Texas sources, replace images and names so that the examples reflect your students, and then add a short glossary with program-specific jargon. Same backbone, you're just making it a better fit, lower cognitive load, and higher trust from your students. So in this example, the Introduction to Sociology by OpenStax was contextualized for Canadian students at BC campus. And here's one book's journey. Principles of Marketing started out at Rice University. OpenStax was adapted at the University of Minnesota, and then adapted again by BC campus. Each stop made it a better fit for the community. That work, that is, that's the network, the effect of open, that network of change. Most faculty do both customize and contextualize, but you can just start small and let each iteration teach you what to change next. So in art history, Libby used an open textbook called Where Does Art Come From? And this isn't a traditional textbook. It was written by the professor with contributions from her students, and it was published as an OER. Their professor invited students short analysis, image captions, and artist notes, and those were folded back into the book for new editions. Libby called the text modern and approachable, but what really landed was seeing student work inside the pages. Free access mattered, yes, but just as important, the tone and examples sounded like her peers. She found herself reading differently, looking for classmates' names, and noticing the range of perspectives, and trusting the material more because it carried voices like hers. This is the shift from consuming to contributing, a different relationship with their learning. Vi is a drawing major in the same course, had a similar experience for different reasons. Traditional text often repeated what she was already getting in studio and lecture. Where does art come from was day one, no cost, and flexible enough to invite her in. She added humor, sketches, and short reflections that were curated into the book's galleries and sidebars. That participation pulled her deeper into UTA spaces like the Fab Lab here at the library and made the reading feel alive and not just assigned. The savings were real, and wonderful, so was the sense of belonging that came from opening a book and recognizing your cohort's fingerprints on the page. Students consistently link OER to reduced financial pressure and better fit. Tailored content is easier to engage with and easier to keep current. One case, Rasha wrote about her OER as a game changer because it reduces financial pressure and can be adapted to match learner needs. In a PR campaigns class, the OER department actually served as the client. Students created openly licensed material, campaign assets, and ran market research on campus perception of OER. Their work now lives on for the next cohort of PR campaign students to be able to take on their next client and use what they created. So this is open practice. This is open pedagogy, real audience, real impact, and sharing it forward. So during Open Education Week this past March, we asked students three quick questions. If textbooks were free, what would you do with the money? They said food and tuition. It led the charts, with study tools following pretty close behind. When students can't afford a book, many borrow or rely on lecture slides, search for PDFs, often pirated ones, or hope that the library has a copy available. Some we also asked, have you ever gone without a textbook and what happened? And we learned that some manage without, and many report confusion and grade dips. These responses come from my GRA's engagement summary, and it mirrors what we hear in from students, that it's a struggle when they can't afford the textbooks. And when we think about what it tells them, like if you can't afford this textbook, um, it takes away that sense of belonging. It really makes it feel like they're not supposed to be there because they can't afford a textbook. So we know that course loads, registration timing, drops, and withdrawals all get shaped by book cost. From 2019 to 2023, we see on this chart that students are still struggling because of textbooks. We see numbers grow. And still, since 2019, we've seen here at UTA more courses marked with OER or low-cost notes, more department-level conversations about affordability, and more tools and training for faculty to find materials that fit. So we see that students are still struggling, and that's a growing struggle. And I'm excited to know and see that we're making so many changes here at UTA to help our students and the rest of the world. Um, we know that pandemic disruptions accelerated the move to digital and made access gaps a little harder to ignore. So that's kind of helpful. Um, we've seen a steadier OER adoption and awareness here at UTA, and we're hoping to broaden that even further. I shared this on Monday, and I think it's important to come back to. Again, the University of Georgia study showed that when courses moved to OER, average grades rose and DFW rates fell, with the strongest gain for those Pell eligible students. And this is a pattern we see everywhere. When students have day one access and a better fit, they engage sooner and stick around longer. This is about student success, not just savings. So here's the loop I want us to practice. We listen to students and to the course context. We contextualize examples and customize structure, where it makes sense. We invite co-creation and give students authentic audiences and a vehicle for their voice. And then we share back and share to the community so that the next group of people, students, peers, can learn and build onto that. Open access or open OER opens doors, open in general opens doors, and belonging keeps students in the classroom. Engagement then and success grow from there. So we see that access really helps us get that sense of belonging, and then the student success follows. OER is a people project. Stories stitch community, and open licenses let those stories live inside the learning and not around it. When students see their own places, voices, questions in material, Teaching shifts from delivery to a different relationship with learning, an actual relationship with learning for students. Small moves signal belonging. Those signals add up to them. And if any questions are bubbling up, feel free to reach out to us. We can talk more about that sense of belonging and how we can design OER and adapt, modify OER to build in that more human piece. We're here to help you, and we're ready to help you kind of make that next best version of your course. Thanks for joining us today, and don't forget to check out today's activities, and please be sure to come back tomorrow where we're talking more about open pedagogy. Have a great day.